It was interesting. I was here one time going into Diss to pick up my son. I had a bit of spare time, so I was just taking in the sunset here, the view. And then the police turned up and people had phoned me in thinking I was going to jump off the bridge. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, a woman walked over here with her dog too, and I don't think they were going to jump off the bridge either. But if I ever am found hanging or at the bottom of a cliff, you can certainly know, or full of drugs. I don't do drugs, but someone can certainly fill you up with drugs. You can certainly know it wasn't suicide. And before they built this Skull-Dickleborough bypass, I was working for Kingfishers, and the bypass site was over there, and the old road runs over there from Skull, past Skull Lodge into Thelverton. And I had to turn into the new site near Skull Lodge, very straight bit of road there, drop off a crate of milk. And I looked in my mirror, and this lorry coming up behind me just weren't slowing down. I thought, he's not stopping. And I couldn't turn right because there was traffic coming the other way. So I had to put it into gear and boot it, and just managed to miss, being completely rammed. And I got down to Pretty's garage in Skull, turned in and turned around. And the lorry pushing this lorry was a Leggett's lorry, DNG 54. The same lorry that tried to run me off the road in Rickenhall, a bit like the 666, dual film. And there's plenty of host drive monster 18-wheeler 666 dual trucks that are full of monster lies and bogus diagnosis, 3 attempts to run me off the road and narrowly missed escape one high-speed ram. Excuse me. And then the next day they had traffic lights where there's a bridge down there, there's a house, and they had traffic lights, where I'd stopped the day before, to get vehicles in and out of the new site for the bypass. And I kid you not, the light was on red, and the vehicle in front of me on the number plate was in exactly the same spot where this incident had happened the day before, and the registration number was 666. And I say you couldn't make it up. And Kingfisher Dairies, who I was working for, like I say, with Royal Mail, Post the Assassins, Queenie Kingfisher and Co, all full of mad monster lies and bogus diagnosis. I was also driving for Simmons Coaches. My Christian calling at the time was running a hostel for homeless young men, and 55 Victoria Road was never 25 Cromwell Street. There were no bodies pricked into the walls, under the floors, or buried in the garden. And this was all on the back of all the big monster lies that came out of Africa. Kisumu, Kenya. Certainly no Fred West, Sutcliffe, luxury holiday in the sun, staying in a nice hotel, having sex with black hookers, grooming young girls, booze and children, as a lot of people claimed, all paid for by churches and the people of Diss, which was never the case. It was just the big black cornerstone that came out of Africa. My reason for going was a genuine emergency, genocide on the horizon. 17 nuns hacked to death in a children's home by 50 youths with machetes, not far from my mother's children's home. Jaffa and his yardie gang threatening to burn my mother alive the next time they saw her in her car, a real evil saw trap. And God confirmed I was to go, and to go urgently, and not one penny from anybody. A genuine emergency, a race against time, a life or death situation. And it's like the postmaster. So I lived opposite Victoria Road Post Office, and the postmaster there, Lloyd Long, he could stir more crap than this sewage work, and that'd all be delivered by Royal Mail Post the Assassins. And when the postmasters recently, after their lives were turned into a 22-year nightmare because of a glitch in their Horizon computer program, and they were falsely accused of theft and fraud, some were imprisoned, they lost their businesses, their homes, their reputations. Their lives were destroyed, and they finally got vindicated last year. But their lives, I say, over a 20-year nightmare. So certainly no Oxfam sex scandal here in Africa. And then some youths came round, 55 Victoria Road, opposite Victoria Road Post Office. Among them a young girl crying her eyes out. I had a chip pounder on at the time, my partner was there. They come round to see Gavin, Dale and Brian. And I asked this young girl, what's up? And the woman who was like a mother to her had been multiply stabbed to death in Banham, which is about 8 miles over in that direction. And I knew the guy who had done it because when I picked up the paddleys workers for Simmons coaches, he used to sit behind me. Plus she also thought she was pregnant by Rob Hammond from Skull. She was 15, he was 17, who she now detested, so a real double whammy for her. My partner worked for social services, so I told her where she could get support and counselling. And like I say, this woman was like a mother to her. She stayed there every weekend. And she said something pretty profound. She said, after this, nothing will ever surprise me again. And we're all in range of the unexpected when we least expect it on a day like today. And monster black lies will get you beaten, stabbed, shot, set on fire. Happened to the guy in Bristol who they set up as a paedophile. Went into his flat, beat him, stamped on his head, killed him, dragged him outside, poured white spirit over him, set him on fire, and he even phoned the police who never even showed up. He said, I've got a mob outside. And so then another big monster lie started in Diss. Now among the several youths who came round was Edmonds, who does the chip cart, lives in Dickleborough now, used to live in Skelton Road, Diss. He was working at the post office at the time. I'm not saying Edmonds started this story, but within a couple of weeks in Diss, that was all over Diss, apparently that I'd got an underage girl pregnant, some were saying rape, which was never the case. And then, when no one could turn such a girl up, because there was no such girl to turn up, Kingfisher Dairies, where I was working, one of the employers come out, and their employers, some who work for Dish Fishing Club, their big hotline to the police, were all saying that, I'd buried her under groundworks. I also done landscaping and groundworks. I'd buried under patios or groundworks at Harleston, or disappeared her into Dismere to cover up the crime, and this was just another big monster lie. And then an inside job, probably Philip Fairbold, Gary Miller, loosened the wheel nuts on the milk float Sherpa van. So I was coming through Falvin on the old road, busy road, vehicles coming the other way, lorry coming the other direction. I was doing 40, lorry was doing 50. I thought the prop shaft had gone, all this vibration, and then I lost the wheel because someone had loosened the wheel nuts. I lost the passenger side rear wheel, and that nearly put me into the path of the lorry coming the other way, which would have been a 90-mile-an-hour impact I wouldn't have walked away from. And I lost my job at Kingfisher Dairies and Simmons Coaches. I lost my landscaping business, my 4-bedroom house, all because of monster lies. So I did take Graham Kingfisher, young farmers he was friendly with, all sending me shotgun cartridges saying there was one with my name on, the hanging tree was waiting for me. So I took Graham Kingfisher, Turrell's Dairy, it was Roger the Rat, God bless his soul, no longer with us. He was full of monster lies too. Turrell Dairies, who I'd worked for previously before Kingfisher Dairies. So I took Graham Kingfisher to Bury St Edmunds Industrial Tribunal and said to him, you can bring the police, you can bring the postie assassins, anyone you want. Let's see you back up these monster lies. And at the tribunal he was asked if he'd made any allegations against me, which he had, because another employer told me all what was being said, when they were all gossiping around the table when I was out in the yard. And Graham Kingfisher had nothing to say, zero silch, but he did let the black cat out of the bag, said that Diss police had said that I should be locked up. But locked up for what? I hadn't committed any crime. And he couldn't get out of there quick enough with his solicitor, with his black cat tails between his legs. Like I say, people can make up monster lies, but when they got to back them up in black and white, they can't do it. Anyhow, God bless, take care.